training ground for the Virginians who led America to independence, was the capital of England's oldest, largest, richest, and most populated colony. Today, Colonial Williamsburg is a town-sized living history museum depicting 18th century life. Within the walls of the restored and reconstructed buildings, historic interpreters, attired as colonial workmen from slaves to shopkeepers to soldiers, relate stories of colonial Virginia society and culture. In some cases, interpreters portray actual 18th century citizens. In trade sites and compounds, craftspeople practice trades with the tools and methods of the time. All are highly skilled, several in nearly extinct crafts. At Carter's Grove Plantation, a reconstructed slave quarter presents the life and conditions of plantation slaves as they existed in the 18th century. Visitors to this authentic colonial capital encounter historic events and the diverse people who helped to shape a new nation. As Colonial Williamsburg interprets colonial life for its visitors, it also invites them to interact with American history.
This is the home of Peyton and Betty Randolph. It is one of the 88 original structures here in Colonial Williamsburg, and it's approximately 280 years old. Hello, I'm Bill Wilson, and welcome to Colonial Williamsburg. We're very pleased you can join us today. In the next hour, we're going to look at what happened in the 10 years since the Stamp Act was passed in March of 1765. If you watched the electronic field trip on October 18th, you'll remember the program was about the Stamp Act and the Stamp Act resolves. In 1766, the Stamp Act was repealed, but Parliament simultaneously passed the Declaratory Act, giving England the right to levy new taxes when and as needed. The very next year, in 1767, the Townshend duties were passed, placing a tax on such commodities as tea, glass, paper, lead, paint, and other items. The Stamp Act and the Townshend duties ultimately led to several incidents in history I'm sure you've heard about. The Boston Massacre, in which 5 people died in 1770, the Boston Tea Party in 1773, and the Coercive or the Intolerable Act, which closed the port of Boston in 1774. And now, in 1775, we have Paul Revere's ride on the 18th of April. The Battle of Lexington and Concord on April 19th. And right here in Williamsburg, Lord Dunmore's Marines removed the gunpowder from the gunpowder magazine on the night of April 20th and 21st. These incidents all led to confused feelings among the colonies and caused separations in many families. One family, the Randolph family of Williamsburg, became a divided family. Peyton Randolph was Speaker of the House of Burgesses and is now President of the Continental Congress. He is one of the most influential men in Virginia. Betty Randolph is the wife of Peyton. They have no children. Her father, Benjamin Harrison, was a Burgess. John Randolph, Peyton's brother, is now Attorney General for Virginia, a post that Peyton once held. He's also a prominent Virginia lawyer. Ariana Jennings Randolph, wife of John Randolph, also an urban housewife and the mother of 3 children. Edmund Randolph, 22-year-old son of John and Ariana Randolph. Following in his father's footsteps, he too is a lawyer by profession. He has served as the clerk of the Committee on Courts and Justice in the House of Burgesses. Susanna Randolph, the 19-year-old daughter of John and Ariana Randolph and Edmund's sister, has received the typical education of a genteel young lady of colonial Virginia. Aggie's a house slave of the Randolphs. Her mother was the property of Betty Randolph, therefore she became her slave. She works as an under-maid servant on the Randolph household. She's one of 27 Randolph slaves. Charlotte's also a Randolph slave and a maid servant to Betty Randolph. She's a widow with no children. It is now July 1775. The incidents we have previously discussed, plus others, have caused King George III to declare the colonies in rebellion. Let's see how the Randolph family is reacting to the political turmoil surrounding the colonies.
Why, Edmund, why are you here?
Well, Father, I was wishing to speak with Uncle Peyton concerning some matters of not much significance, political matters.
Political matters, not much significance. Would you care to be more specific?
Well, since you ask, Father, it is concerning the late actions of Lord Governor Dunmore, specifically his removal of the gunpowder from our public magazine right across the street from here. That, to me, does not seem rational, the removal of the powder for no particular reason.
Well, it's been some time, and Edmund, I will admit that perhaps his lordship was ill-timed and did not well consider his action, but the taking of the powder itself. Now, is he not the king's regent? Does he not have every right to take the powder if he will? I think it was not illegal in the least. I don't know that you should judge him for taking the powder,
yes,
which is a way of protecting us against a slave uprising or the powder falling into other unscrupulous hands.
Whether the powder can be taken by the governor or not is not the question. The question is that several days past, there was in Massachusetts Bay an aggression against the militia by His Majesty's troops. Within one day of that,
you see some connection?
I see a conspiracy in the taking away of our English liberties, is what I see.
The rabble in the street, whether in Massachusetts Bay or even here in Williamsburg, you think these men capable of some united action? No, there's no conspiracy. There's no conspiracy in the least.
We are, whether you consider them rabble or not, united, Father, against a common tyrant.
I fear this. I fear the loss of their sanity when I see the rabble behaving as they do. That tyrant? Did you say tyrant?
It is what I said, and it is what King George is.
I remind you that you are a Randolph. A Randolph. It was your great-grandfather who first came to this country. And your great-grandfather, and your grandfather, and your uncle, and dare I say it, your father, have all reached positions of the first rank because of our loyalty.
Yes, but
loyalty in every case has served us well, and it will serve you well.
But a loyalty to what? When they came, it was a glorious kingdom, full of splendor, a wonderful king. But now, it is a common tyrant with a parliament that does not even listen to our pleas. I will not be quashed under this boot of slavery.
Slavery? Do you see chains upon these wrists of mine? Do you see me in shackles? I am no slave. I am an Englishman, and I am amongst the freest men on earth.
But free to do what? We cannot even control our own destiny. Why, we can't even tax ourselves. Parliament is taxing us, and we're not even represented.
Oh, wait. Let me apprehend. No taxation without representation. Will you say this? You and all men of late, I tell you, there is some limitation, yes, of what we've come to expect as English liberty. But it will be short-lived. Some momentary limitation will be more than compensated for by the glory that is Britain. And we are part of the most glorious kingdom the world has ever seen. And I, for one, will not forsake that kingdom.
Nor will I stand under the boot of a tyrant.
Edmund, you have been led astray.
How many times I have looked out this window, my dear Ariana, seen all of the capital city pass beneath me, comings and goings, the seasons here in Williamsburg. I vow I never thought I would see a time, however, when I would cast my eyes across the way and see the powder magazine, and see it with great fear and trepidation for its future use.
Indeed, it is most troublesome, I know, and not the least, well, within our own homes to find such rancor. Father and son at odds, my own dear John and Edmund. I have had to forbid them talk of politics at table. they become so agitated that it is quite distressing to the digestion.
Well, and our agitation, I am always confident, is much picked up and thought of by our servants. They think and know more than we can ever give them credit for, and sometimes I know that the talk that goes on in the kitchen would not be that which we would wish to hear.
Quite so.
I am worried in the constant fashion that they are listening too much to troublesome stories at table. And I hope to keep all peace and contentment here in my household, you know.
I do know that you run a very fine house, my dear, but it has concerned me from time to time that you show such a great affection to your servants, and I think it gives them a greater feeling of importance than they warrant, and I fear they will take advantage of you.
Well, of course, I always welcome your advices, my dear sister, but I have always been taught that kindness is always returned with kindness, and thoughtfulness and all that it will warrant will bring loyalty about, and especially ensure that, as I said, there is peace and contentment. When my poor husband crosses the threshold and returns home, I want him to find all in a peaceful situation here. His health has not been at all well, you know.
Oh, I do know it.
It's taken a toll on him, all the business of the colony. Oh, well, there you are, Charlotte. You may clear the tea things. I must confess also that I greatly fear his undertaking of another journey to Philadelphia.
Oh, it is very, very difficult, I know, this journeying. And so many worries, particularly with the news from Concord and Lexington. That has agitated my John beyond all reason, I vow.
Oh. And you, my dear, have a son to think about, and daughters as well. I worry over how all this may see their futures.
Oh, truly. Although the girls, I think, are less affected than Edmund. Their heads are filled with fashion and fripperies and, well, beaux and all manner of other things, and the politics holds little interest for them, except as it impinges upon their lives.
I suppose we should be grateful for that. I understand Suzanne is to come by after she's picked out a new bonnet.
Oh, yes. She does not yet know of her father's present intentions to go to England, and I fear she must be made aware, and yet I fear to tell her.
Oh, how you wish you could protect your children from ever knowing the harsh realities of life. But we know them, my dear. We must think ahead and prepare always for the worst that might come.
But I shall continue to hope for the very best.
Aggie, you know what, everywhere I go in this house, it's such turmoil and confusion going on, and everybody's acting so strange, you know. Even Miss Randolph, she seems so formal with me, and growing up with her all this time, she's never been like that before. She seems almost cold.
Well, it may be cold upstairs, but it sure is hot in the parlor. Why, Mr. Edmund and Mr. John is in there hot, talking about that old politics stuff. Got them at odds with each other. You know, I think it's a shame that father and son disagree with each other at a time when they need to be close.
It's true. You know, I was over at Mr. West's, at Lydia's place, just the other day, and it seems like every household in the town is at 6s and 7s. Folks are coming and going and never have time to sit and talk for more than a moment, and, well, everybody feels different. Some folks just don't care. They just wish it would just go away, and others are mad, and some are glad, and some is angry or sad, and I just don't know what's to come of it.
Now, all I know is Master Peyton's health ain't well. Why, each time I look at him, he looks like he's getting weaker and weaker.
Just
you know, every time we think he's getting ready to come out of it, he just gets worse.
It does seem that way. You know, how is your baby Secordia? How's her health?
Oh, my little Secordia is strong. You know, I'm real thankful that Miss Betty looks upon her like she's her own child.
Indeed she does.
Yes, she does.
And sometimes even though other folks chastise her for spending so much time and showing such attention to her slaves, but you know, that is her way. That's the goodness of her heart.
Yeah, she does. Well,
I guess we better get back to working, because everybody acting so strange. We don't want to give them no cause to be upset with us.
You know, I just think it's a shame that when folks are looking at themselves, they ain't thinking nothing about us.
That's the truth. You know, it's as if they don't even know that whatever happens to them, well, it's gonna have something to do with us too.
You know what I just thought about? What if Master Peyton dies? Or what could happen to us?
I don't even want to think on it.
Well, John and Edmund, I seldom see the two of you together any longer. When I do, you're either saying too much or nothing at all. It seems hard to guess which is more ominous. What brings you to my...
Well, I've come, Peyton, to speak with you concerning certain events in Massachusetts Bay, in Lexington, and in Concord. And further, Peyton, I would know what will be the response of your Congress to these events in Massachusetts Bay.
Lexington, Concord. When I heard of these things, it was like being struck. They are disasters of the first order. Bloodshed is always a disaster, and the events of Massachusetts have complicated all of our problems beyond all imagining. We have, by the narrowest of margins, avoided violence here in this city when His Lordship moved the gunpowder from the powder magazine. By a very narrow margin. They have not avoided violence in the North, and we must now cope with it. As to the Congress, John, we have covered this ground on several occasions. I still feel, especially now, that the Congress is perhaps our only hope at this point of coming to a peaceful resolution with the mother country. If it is not our only hope, it is certainly our best hope.
Yes, but it is a poor hope. There is much speaking, much litigation, but no action. And if Parliament does not hear what we have to speak with our unified voice, there might perhaps be even more bloodshed, perhaps in this fine colony of Virginia itself.
Loyalty is the avenue we must travel down.
Loyalty.
We must go down the road of loyalty. Yes, loyalty. Loyalty has served us in the past and it will in the future. At the risk of seeming to lecture my more learned and wise older brother, Peyton, have you forgotten that you're Euclidean geometry? The shortest distance between 2 points is still, Peyton, as it always has been, a straight line, a line drawn from Virginia to England, from Williamsburg to London, and not by way of some other place, not by way of Philadelphia, or Boston, or New York, or anywhere else, but loyalty and straightly to the mother country.
John, I have been loyal to the mother country, to the colony of Virginia, to the British Empire, to the king, in every way that I know how to be loyal. I have devoted my entire adult life, as you well know, to service. I've been a burgess, I've been Attorney General for near on to a quarter of a century. I have been to England on the service of this colony. I have sat in Congress in the service of this colony and this empire. I have, in all that I have done, especially since the stamp crisis, in everything that I have done, step by step, I have always looked for some means of compromise, some peaceful solution, some way to solve this crisis short of violence.
And what will you say to that, Edmund?
My thought is that with this Congress facing against a tyrant, there is little, very, very little hope at all.
A tyrant. A tyrant. You speak treason, Edmund Randolph, and I cannot be in a land that will rise against their king.
Treason.
I must forsake this my native country if men's opinions will be colored by this treasonous attitude that you have.
You may call it treason, Father, but I will not flee. I would rather die a free man.
And die you will.
Then live a slave.
Has a professional army and navy.
Man,
will you and this rabble with their shirtmen, with this liberty and death upon the street, will they be any match for His Majesty's troops? Yes, you'll die.
Edmund, you sound more and more each day like Mr. Patrick Henry. does not become you.
Well, as you can see, things are heating up in the Randolph household. Now's the time for some questions, and I'd like to start off with a question to Edmund. Edmund, if the situation continues to deteriorate and war becomes inevitable, how will the colonies defend themselves against the professional army and navy of England?
Well, sir, you speak of no trained or professional troops. Sir, there are a great many militias with many fine men and brave men who honor liberty, English liberty. Whether we have a professional army or not, sir, or a navy, does not depend so much upon what we can do, but, sir, on the grace of God. That we shall prevail on.
We have a call coming in right now from Gresham School in Alabama. Go ahead, Gresham.
John, which is more important to you, your family or your country?
You ask a difficult question. My family is, of course, so very important to me. And yet, if a man will not stand by his principles, what worth is even his family to him? I would not be the shame of my family by departing from my principles. It saddens me that some of my family will differ with me, but I will remain steadfast to principle.
Northfield Elementary in Tennessee is on the line right now. Would you please go ahead, Northfield Elementary?
My name is Kyle Smith from Northfield Elementary in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and I would like to ask any of you, how did the slaves react to the English?
Well, some have been perhaps enticed by rumors that they may gain their freedom by fleeing the master and seeking some refuge under the banner of the British Army. But I can give all these rumors a little credit. For the most part, our people are loyal, and they'll serve us well. That is my opinion.
I would think there would be nothing for them to gain and everything for them to lose